Adjust the microphone so we can hear you. Bring it closer to you. And for the record, say and spell your first and last name, please.
Janet Cover. Janet space Cover.
Thank you. Ms. Cover, what do you do for a living?
I'm an HR leader for Wella.
Okay. Back in January of 2017, what was your role?
I was the HR director for Wella.
And what does that involve?
It involves supporting employees. It involves business partnership with our leaders. Yeah, pretty much.
Now, Wella's a large corporation. Were you, where were you located actually as far as physically as the HR leader?
We were, at that time, we were based in Woodland Hills. So now we're in Calabasas.
Okay. And then Exhibit 1, are you familiar with this individual?
Yes.
And who do you know him as?
Fabio Sementilli, he was our education leader.
And what was your relationship as far as in the hierarchy, if any, with Fabio?
So as a business HR partner, you support various functions, and I supported his function, the education team. So him and I worked very closely together to work on strategic plans, whether it's regarding the organization or staffing of his people. That's what I partnered with him.
Now, how long would you say that you worked with and knew Fabio until the time of his death on January 23rd, 2017?
I was with him the entire time he was employed at Wella.
So approximately how many years was that?
I want to say maybe 5-6 years. Yeah.
Would you say that you saw him, since you were based in Woodland Hills, on a daily basis?
Yes.
Did he come into the office typically?
Yes, when he wasn't traveling.
And did he sometimes work from home?
Yes.
Okay. Was there any definitive or scheduled days that you knew he was never in the office and always working from home, or did it fluctuate?
Fluctuates.
Okay. Do you know who his wife was?
Yes.
Do you see her in court?
Yes.
Could you please identify where she's sitting and what she's wearing?
She's wearing a blue jacket.
And what do you know her name to be?
Monica Sementilli.
Did you ever socialize outside of the office, whether it be work functions or personal functions, with both Fabio and his wife?
Yes, but in a group setting. So sometimes we would go out to dinner with various coworkers, and Monica would be there at times.
Had you been to the Sementilli residence at 501 Queen Victoria in Woodland Hills?
Yes.
Now, prior to his death, how many times have you been there?
Probably 1 or 2 times.
Okay. Jumping to the date then of January 23rd, 2017, do you remember that day?
Yes.
And were you notified by somebody of Fabio's death?
Yes.
How did that occur?
That was when Henry called me. I was having dinner. I think it was around 7 p.m. And he had said, "Hey, Janet, have you heard from Fabio?" And I was like, "No, not today." And he said, "Well, we just got a call that he's been killed, and we think it's a joke. So we're gonna go over to his house to check."
What happened after that?
I said, "Okay." So then I called his phone immediately to see if that was a joke, and he didn't answer. Fabio, he didn't answer his phone. And then later Henry called me to confirm that it was true.
Up until this point, based on the relationship that you had with Fabio, did you know him to have any enemies or anyone upset with him?
No.
Had you witnessed, up until this point, any problems that you observed between the defendant and Fabio or their marriage?
No.
So the date of the 23rd, did you go to the house that night?
No.
Did you go the next day?
Yes.
And who did you go with?
Henry.
Can you tell us what happened when you went to the house the next day?
Went to the house, and there were other people, I can't recall, but I believe family with Monica, and she was grieving, and we were trying to support her at that time.
When you say grieving, what did you observe?
I saw her holding his sweater and in a photo book.
Okay. Did you see her crying with tears coming down her face?
I don't recall tears, but I saw her like holding the book.
Okay. So during that day, the point was to reassure her that you were available. Did anything else happen during that meeting?
I think Henry had mentioned to her, like, hey, when you're ready, we have benefits to share with you. And I think he left her like a folder that had a summary of all the benefits that she would, be able to be entitled to due to his death.
Did you see Henry, and this is Henry Meyer?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see Henry go over on that day, the 24th, any of the benefits with her, if you saw?
I think he did a quick, 5-minute conversation with her.
And when you say a book, did you see a spreadsheet of some sort listing out benefits?
Yeah, it was like a list, and he had it in a folder.
All right. So did you then go back to the Sementilli house on February 13th, 2017? Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
Did you go with anybody back to the house on that day?
No.
When you went back to the house that day, and now it's 3 weeks after the murder, what was your purpose that day?
I wanted to help Monica make phone calls, and actually when she was ready to go through all the benefits, so I knew it was a hard time, so I wanted to sit down with her and go through one by one, and if we needed to make phone calls, we could do them together, and I had Fabio's information in terms of the benefits, so I was more to give her intimate service at the time to help her during a grieving moment.
When you refer to benefits, what do the benefits, as far as your perspective in HR, what were those benefits? What kind of benefits are we talking about?
Life insurance.
Okay. Anything else?
Stock options.
Okay. Anything else that you recall?
No.
Okay. Those specific benefits.
Yes.
Now, when you got to the residence, can you describe her demeanor on February 13th, 2017?
When I got there, she opened the door, let me in the house, and I said, "Hi, Monica, how are you?" And, it was just you could tell she was still grieving, but at the same time, I think there were no more, it was oh, come in, sit down, and then I went through the benefits with her, and she kind of just said, "Okay, can you handle it?" And then she stepped out to make phone calls.
So your purpose was to help her understand the benefits or actually get the benefits, if you can differentiate between that in my question.
Basically, my purpose was to sit down with her and trigger the execution of the benefits. And so I can't do that on my own, so I wanted to help her do it. And in case she needed help, I would be there to help her with questions.
Now, did she actually work the benefits out with you, go through them with you during that time?
No.
So what happened?
So she went to make some phone calls outside, and then I basically made the phone calls on her behalf.
Did she direct you to make those phone calls?
She just said, "Let me know if you need anything, I'll be outside."
Is that what you expected to happen?
Not really.
Why not?
Same.
Okay. When you go through benefits with other individuals, have you done that before in your experience? As an HR director, have you gone through benefits with other individuals?
Benefits, but I've never had to trigger life insurance.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So triggering life insurance, do you have the authority to do anything as far as making claims for life insurance or exercising stock options? Do you have that authority?
No.
Do you need the individual who is named as the beneficiary in order to make any executions on those two topics?
Yes.
And was she there assisting you while you're making the calls?
No.
So let's talk about it. Where was she during this time?
She was outside on the patio.
Okay, could you tell what she was doing? You said making calls. Anything else?
I think smoking.
Approximately how many calls did you make for her?
I think I made about 2.
Okay, and were you by yourself during these calls?
Yes.
Okay, the first call then, what was the first call you made for her?
I think the first call was with P&G for the stock options.
Okay, had you gone over these stock options with her?
I just shared that she would be entitled to that, and so that's all basically of the conversation.
When you made that call, do you recall if you completed a call and actually got a live person about the stock options
No, there was a voicemail, so I left a message
regarding stock options?
regarding the stock options and calling on her behalf.
And then what is the second call that you made on her behalf?
There was another call to Canada because he had some other benefits in Canada, so I made the call to Canada as well.
And did you talk to someone live this time?
No.
Now, after these calls, did you relay to her what you had done on her behalf while she was outside?
After the calls, yes, I shared with her.
That day, did you do anything else to assist her that you recall?
No.
So in the following weeks then, did you have anything more to do with helping her with these stock options and life insurance?
She would call me just to say, where are we? So we kept in touch, in terms of the status of the benefits of the life insurance. And so I would let her know that I didn't hear anything. She would call me and say, have you heard anything? So that was the next few weeks.
So if this was February 13th, 3 weeks after the murder, and the following 2 weeks, how often did she call you about the life insurance?
Probably every couple of days.
Okay, and it was always the topic of life insurance?
Yes.
Now, were you able to control the claim of the life insurance at all?
No.
What did you tell her?
In the beginning, I said, I'll check for you, and then I would reach out to Tracy from Cody Benefits to see if there was any word. And for a while, she would tell me, no, we haven't heard anything yet. So that's what I would do, and then I would relay back the message.
And is that Tracy Rakovich?
Correct.
Did the defendant say anything to you, whether it be on a voicemail or to you directly, about her need for the life insurance and why she needed it?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She left me a voicemail that shared, I've been getting a lot of phone calls from New York. My attorney hasn't heard of anything. I don't know what to do. Can you please help me? That's what I got.
Did she tell you if money was tight?
Yes.
Now, at this point, did you know that, and this is being February of 2017, that she'd been granted Fabio's salary for the 6 months after his death? Did you know this at that point?
Yes.
And did she tell you that she had a trip planned to Las Vegas?
No.
So roll.
Did she tell you that she had any other trips planned to Myrtle Beach or Las Vegas for a second trip?
No.
Did she tell you anything about anybody else that was helping her her need to get this life insurance?
She mentioned Henry and that, she spoke to him, but she didn't really feel he was being very helpful.
Did you exchange then during the same period of voicemails and conversations a series of text messages with the defendant?
Yes.
And you're going to have an 8-page copy of text messages originating between the defendant's phone number and another individual. Let me mark this as People's 175.
Yes.
Give me something to screen here. I know it's small print for you, but there's a series of text messages, and it starts with, "Hi, Monica, this is Janet. I'll be at your house on Monday between 10 and 10:30, if that's okay with you." And is that you sending that text message to the defendant?
Yes.
And that was on February 10th, 2017.
Yes.
Okay. So that was just a couple days before what you just testified to, that meeting, letting her know you're going to come. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And she responds to you. So moving to page 2 then, the text messages continue. Was that you? Did you send a death notice? A death certificate?
Yes.
Okay, and so she's responding to you to that, and then you would say, "I faxed all the documents with the exception of Aon, Hewitt, Agewitt, and you're trying to, what is that in reference to?
These are the documents that you needed to submit to get the life insurance. So on her behalf, I had submitted what I could, and I gave her the update in terms of the information that I had submitted.
So that's at 5:49. Is that after you met with her?
Yes.
So that was a follow-up from the meeting at her house on February 13th.
Yes.
Okay. And then she wrote back to you that she hadn't received any phone calls.
Yes.
Page 3 then, we're back in the same text messages. Moving down the next day, 2/14/2017, the defendant's asking you, have you heard anything? And then should they call? Do you know what that's in reference to?
I think that's the P&G stock options.
Okay, so you had facilitated that voicemail to P&G, and that was confirmation that she'd gotten a call back for the stock options.
Correct.
Okay. And then moving to page 4, we're moving on to the top here. The defendant says, just waiting for packets to come in the mail. Attorney will be helping. I gave him your number. He may contact you with questions I can't answer. Thank you so much. Do you know what packets she's talking about?
I didn't see the packets, but I assume P&G sends you packets.
Okay, and that's just regarding benefits
Yes.
insurance. She says an attorney is going to contact you. Did you ever get contacted by an attorney on her behalf?
No.
And then back on March 2nd, we're jumping ahead, you're checking in to see how she's doing, and she asks you to call her. Do you remember this interaction?
Yes.
And what was happening here?
Basically, I wanted to just follow up to check in with her to see if she was okay and if she got, the information she needed, just in case I needed to help her with anything. So that was the interaction.
And during that interaction, did she ask anything about life insurance or stock options again, or follow up with that topic?
Yes.
And again, did you have any information to provide
No.
her? Okay, page 5, we've moved to the top now. We're at March 8th and March 9th. Can you call me today when you get a chance? There's no response to that immediately. Did you end up calling her if you remember?
Yes. I might have called her.
And on March 9th, did you receive a voicemail from her as well?
Yes.
Do you know what she was asking you for?
She was asking if I could help her because she had been getting phone calls from New York, but they haven't heard anything, and she wanted to know if I knew any information.
And again, this was on life insurance?
Correct.
Okay. On March 14th, right here, you say we've been told your MetLife claim is being reviewed and processed. The latest we've heard is MetLife needs to confirm the incident with LAPD. What were you referring to?
So when I had spoken to Tracy, she basically said to me that we've done what we could as a company. We've processed the claim, and now it lives in the hands of the LAPD. So that's what I responded to Monica with.
And then on page 6 at the top, she sends you Detective Parshall's number. Why did she send you that? Do you recall a conversation or a reason why she sent you the detective's number?
Checking out the thing.
Did you receive this text, Detective Parshall?
Yes.
Do you know who that was?
I assumed it was the person that was the LAPD contacting Tracy.
Did you ever talk to a Detective Parshall about anything?
No.
And then there's a series of texts after that you sent her on 3/16, 3/22, 4/1. Are these you just following up again?
Yes, because she had been calling me, so then I texted her back.
So rather than return the calls, is this your response to her inquiries?
Yes.
And were those calls all about, again, life insurance and stock options?
Yes.
Okay. And then we go to, page 7 on April 12th, 2017. She's writing no progress with insurance. We must wait for investigation to be over, so who knows. Also stops going to probate as there was no will. So everything pretty much sucks, and I'm very, very tired. Wish you had better news. Thanks for checking in. Had you checked in before this verbally?
Yes.
And what had you told her?
I think I left a message just to say, hey, how are you?
And going further down the same day on April 12th, 2017, you're asking which stocks are you referring to. There's PG stocks for the United States and Canada, and she confirms to you that it's for the United States, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you knew about these stock options as well.
Yes.
Again, you had nothing to do with it, though.
No.
And then finally, as of April 12th, looks at the text messages end with, thanks, Janet, no worries, nothing we can do. Court hearing is end of May. Sorry, go with that one as well. And then you told her how to say flight. Do you know where she was going on this date on April?
Might have been Canada?
Okay. Was there a memorial that was held in Canada?
Yes.
Did you go to that?
No.
Okay. You did go to that?
No. I did not.
Did you go to the one in Woodland Hills?
Yes.
And that was on May 22nd, 2017?
Yes.
Did you go to the wake that was at her house on January 29th, 2017?
Yes.
One moment. Earlier I asked you about the Aon Hewitt that I talked about. That. Is that the Canada?
Yes.
Is it the stock options or the another insurance policy?
They had, I think it was something similar to a stock option. I don't know if it was called a stock option.
So is that why you asked whether it was U.S. or Canada she was
Yes.
referring to? Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Mr. Levine.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Bennett.
Let me ask you some questions from here, and we'll get back to the some items I want to show you. It sounds like you were doing the best you could to aid Mrs. Sementilli in navigating the issues of benefits, life insurance, whatever it was that Wella had let her know she was entitled to as a result of the death of her husband, correct?
Correct.
And you weren't the only one doing this. It was also Mr. Mayor, and you mentioned another person, Tracy. What was her name?
Tracy Rakovich.
She was involved as well.
I don't think she spoke to Monica directly. It was Henry and I.
Okay. And again, your goal was to help out someone who had just suffered the loss of her husband tragically in a murder, correct?
Correct.
And when you saw her the first few times, she was showing the effects, you believe, of being a widow now, having her husband murdered tragically in her own home, correct?
Correct.
She was devastated.
Correct.
And that's what you said in previous occasions, right?
Yes.
And grieving.
Yes.
You were there to try to help.
Correct.
Now, at some point, you were able to provide her, or Mr. Mayor was, a list of the benefits she was entitled to as a result of her husband's death, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And some of those had to do with life insurance, correct?
Correct.
Did you know that Fabio Sementilli had designated beneficiaries for his life insurance, that is, who he wanted to receive the life insurance and in what percentages?
I believe it was in the form. Yes.
Okay. You saw that in the form.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes.
So you knew that almost half of the insurance was designated for her children, correct?
Yes.
And there was some designated for Luigi, his other son from a previous marriage, correct?
Correct.
And then some for her. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, in addition to that, there were other benefits that were automatic as a result of the death of Fabio Sementilli, correct? I'm talking about an IRA, for instance, some stock that he owned, some options, things of that nature.
What do you mean by automatic?
Well, was he unique in his position as the only one who got some of those benefits, or do you know?
No, he was not unique.
Okay. But each person had their own unique set of benefits, I assume.
Yes.
Some they could purchase on their own, correct?
Overruled.
Yes.
Okay, they could increase insurance, they could buy stock, purchase options, all of these things were made available to a variety of employees. Is that right?
Yes.
And Fabio took advantage of some of them. Is that right?
Yes.
Were you intimately involved in explaining that to Monica, or was that mostly Mr. Mayer or Tracy?
It was mainly Henry, and then I was sharing where the details were the following week.
Okay. And you did that, correct? As best you could.
Briefly, yes.
Okay. And you said one of the well, first of all, you had been to the home prior to Fabio's death. Is that right?
Correct.
And that was for a business event. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I went to a barbecue.
Okay. And about how many people were there? Do you recall?
Probably about maybe 10 or so.
Okay. And how long before Fabio's death did that occur, approximately?
I don't know, maybe it was in the summer, so maybe like 6 months prior to that.
Okay. Was that the only time you were at the home?
I believe so.
Okay. And what was the purpose of that barbecue, if you know?
He just wanted to have a get together, so he invited his leadership team and their families to come. So we stopped by for the barbecue with my family.
So a social event with business friends and so forth and fellow workers, correct?
Correct.
And you had a chance to see how Fabio interacted with Monica and vice versa, correct?
Correct.
Is that the only time you were at the home?
As far as I recall, yes.
And as far as you saw, they were happily married and there was no problems and so forth, as far as you saw.
Yes.
Appeared to be getting along fine.
Correct.
All right, then this tragic event happens and you go out to assist. Is it fair to say that except for the life insurance issue, everything else seemed to be working out according to plan? Did you assist Monica in other things besides the life insurance issue?
No.
Did you advise her of what her benefits were besides the life insurance?
On the stock options.
Okay. And was there any other conversations between you and her about the stock options?
Beyond the text, no.
Do you know if she attempted to exercise those options?
Beyond what I did or outside of what I did?
Well, tell me what you did.
I called the P&G phone number to help her exercise those options.
And which options were there? Do you recall?
The P&G stock options and then the Canadian ones.
And you recall what the value was of those options?
I don't recall.
Okay. Were you involved at all? Do you know if she was able to exercise them and receive funds, or was that tied up in the estate and the probate as well?
I got the text message from her that shared they put the U.S. ones on hold. I don't know what happened to the Canadian ones.
And on hold, the same thing happened with the life insurance. Is that correct?
Correct.
So the primary contact between you and Mrs. Sementilli after these initial meetings involved the life insurance, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in summary, and I'll show you these texts as well, whatever she was doing or Wella was doing was not succeeding, correct?
Meaning, what do you mean not succeeding?
You were not able to succeed in having the life insurance paid to the beneficiaries that Fabio had designated.
Yeah, it was not my call, but yeah.
You did all you could.
Correct.
You learned that it had something to do with LAPD, is that correct?
Later on, yes.
Did you know at the time that LAPD was intentionally withholding approval of those benefits so that they would not be paid to her?
No.
They never told you that?
Who's they?
LAPD.
I never spoke to LAPD.
No, you spoke to Wella, correct?
Tracy?
And what about Meta? Life insurance, was that the company that was issued the policy?
I never spoke to them.
Did you learn from anyone that this was being held up because LAPD had put a hold on it?
Yes.
And who did you learn that from?
Tracy.
Okay. And this was the source of the frustration of Monica that LAPD had not resolved the case, cleared her, or whatever it was they had to do before the life insurance was paid, correct?
Correct.
And they not only were holding up the life insurance to her, they were holding up the life insurance to her daughters as well. Isn't that true?
Correct.
And she was concerned about that as well.
We never spoke about her daughters.
But you knew that was part of the benefits.
Yes.
This thing?
What efforts did you make to try to resolve?
Second?
What efforts did you make to try to resolve this issue with LAPD and Meta and so forth regarding life insurance being cleared and so forth? MetLife. I'm sorry.
I just spoke to Tracy. Tracy was my contact, and she gave me the information.
And that information was basically she'd done all she could do. It was now in LAPD's hands. Is that right?
Correct.
And basically, in the end, Monica informed you that it looked like everything was going to be put over until May. Is that right?
Correct.
In the meantime, she indicated she was having some financial issues. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, at some point, Wella had made available to her additional funds in the form of a continuation of Fabio's salary as well as a continuation of the health benefits for her and her daughters, correct?
Correct.
Were you the one who informed her of that, or did Henry or someone else?
I believe that was Henry.
And that was a few weeks later, I guess. Is that right? If you know.
I can't recall.
Well, it wasn't the original policy of Wella to provide that benefit for the spouses of deceased workers, was it?
Correct.
So a new policy had to be put into effect. Is that right? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know how long that took?
To create the policy?
To change the policy and inform Monica that it had been changed.
I believe that Henry was doing that, but I assume it was like a week or so.
Okay. And that policy was put into effect. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So again, the only thing that was not resolved was the issue of the life insurance. Is that right?
Yes.
As far as you knew.
Yes.
And that became the subject matter of the text to and from Monica, right?
Yes.
Could I have 9 pages of text messages between the witness and the defendant, dated March the 10th?
Maybe 6:15. Is this the same as 175?
It is somewhat duplicative and also different.
Data.
But just to make sure we have everything that occurred in terms of text messages back and forth from you to Monica, let me show you page 1 of this text message. This one looks like it's dated 2/10/2017 and 7/28/32. Can you see that top row?
Yes.
And that says, "Hi Monica, this is Janet. I will be at your house on Monday between 10 and 10:30 if that's okay." Then she responds, "Perfect, thanks." And you say, "No problem, see you there." Correct?
Correct.
And you did go out to the house on Monday between 10 and 10:30?
Yes.
This is page 2, starting at the top. This says, I'm not sure it says anything there. It has an attachment, however. You see that?
Yes.
It is sent from a number 818-2.
Yes.
And that number is?
My number?
Okay. And it's sent to Monica, it says. And you know what the attachment was?
It might have been a death certificate.
Okay, you're right, yeah, looks like it. And why was the death certificate involved here?
Because you needed that information to exercise the stock option, so I had to fax things on her behalf, because I don't believe they have a fax machine.
And did you inform Monica of that fact that she had to get a death certificate?
Yes,
Okay. And did she go out and get a death certificate and supply it to you?
I believe so.
And I assume a death certificate was also needed for any claims life insurance, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, the second line there has the attachment as well, and then the third line at the bottom says, "Hi Monica, I faxed all the documents with the exception of Aon Hewitt, AON HEW. The fax did not go through. I will try again in the AF. You see that?
Yes,
And that was again on February 13th, right?
yes,
And I think you just answered prosecutor's question as who Aon Hewitt was, which was what again? Can you remind me?
Canada, the equivalent.
Oh. You did look at chronological order, page 3, beginning at the top. This is dated the same day, February 13th, and it's Monica saying, okay, I haven't received any phone calls. You see that?
Yes,
You know what that referred to?
meaning from P&G or the Canadian Aon Hewitt.
Okay. So she had sent the death certificate and had not received any phone calls, or do you know what that referred to?
That's what I was assuming.
Okay. And then you said, no problem, I'm always there to help, which I assume is true. Is that right?
Yes,
And she said, Monica, I know you left message with C&G number, no callback here. Have you heard anything? The next, I was just reading that. Is that appeared to be the message that she sent to you? Is that-
yes,
Okay, again, that was on February, this is February 14th, so it would have been the next day, correct?
correct.
Page 4, starting at the top. That is from Monica to you. NDM, you know what that means?
Never mind.
Thank you. They called all good things. You see that?
Yes,
And then there's a response from you, okay, great. You see that?
yes,
There. And then below, we're now on February 17th, which is 3 days after the last one was February 14th. And you initiate this text 3 days later. Hi Monica, just checking in with you on the insurances. Have you heard anything or do you need more help? You see that?
yep,
So you were, again, offering her help to try to navigate this insurance issue 3 days later.
correct.
And she responds, just waiting for packets to come in mail. Kenny will be helping. I gave him your number. He may contact you with questions I can't answer. Thank you so much for everything. You see that?
Yes,
And she had indicated in that she had talked to an attorney, whom you assume because of the problems that were not being resolved, right?
I didn't make any assumptions. Yeah,
So again, you didn't know that LAPD was putting a hold on it.
no,
Let's go to the next page 5 of exhibit 615. And you are now, this is on the 17th again of February. Got it, no problem. Let me know if you need anything else, correct?
yep,
And she says, thank you. You see that?
yes,
Okay. Again, that was on February 17th. So, before I get to the next, it's fair to say that you were offering your help every time there appeared to be an issue or a problem, correct?
yes,
So, when she was contacting you, it was, as far as you understood, partly because you offered your help And you were willing to give her the help when she was not succeeding in navigating this issue of life insurance or anything else.
Yes.
You were there for her,
Yes.
to your credit. You can say those.
Yes.
And then we have another text here which is dated March 2nd, 2017. So now we're approximately over 2 weeks, about 2 weeks from the previous text message. You see that?
Yes.
Have you had any contact with Monica during those 2 weeks?
I can't recall.
Okay. So is it fair to say that these text messages are the best evidence of what your contact was with Monica during this time period?
Yes. And voicemail.
Okay. So that was on March 2nd, and then Monica answers 6 days later. You see that, March 8th. And she says, "Hi Janet, can you please call me when you have a chance?" You see that?
Yes.
Okay. And that was in response to your saying, "Have you heard anything else on insurance?" Right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, page 6. And this is from you to her, correct?
Yes.
This is now March 8th. I, and in meetings till this afternoon, will call when I have a break later this afternoon. See that? That was from you to her, right?
Yes.
And then further down, there's a response, okay. And then the next day, March 9th, he says, can you call me today when you get a chance? Got that?
Yes.
And that was following the day before when you said, we'll call when I have a break later this afternoon. See that?
Yes.
Okay. Now that was on March 8th. Now we go to March 14th. So we're going ahead 6 days. And you get back to her and say, "Hi Monica, we've been told your MetLife claim is being reviewed and processed. The latest we've heard is MetLife needs to confirm the incident with LAPD." See that?
Yes.
And I assume that correctly gave her information that you had received from MetLife,
From Tracy.
from Tracy. And again, in answer to what was holding this up, right? Waiting to hear from LAPD.
Yes.
And again, you did not know why or for what reason LAPD was holding it.
Correct.
You had no contact personally with LAPD.
No.
Now the next item, page 7. This is dated March 14th, and she says to you, "Okay, I heard that. Too bad. That was last week. I heard that. Too bad. That was last week, but that was last week. Do I call to check on status?" And you responded on the same day, "Sure, you can try. Maybe check with detectives too to see when they can respond to MetLife." You see that?
Yes.
Okay. And then she says, "Okay." And there's a phone number given for Detective Arsham. See that?
Yes.
That's on March 16th, 2 days later. Is that right?
Yes.
From her to you, from Monica to you.
Yes.
Do you know why she was sending you Detective Arsham's phone number?
I can't recall.
Has she asked you to perhaps contact Detective Arsham and find out what was holding this up?
Possibly.
Did you do so?
No.
Because it was out of your hands, or what? You didn't have the authority, or what?
Yeah, no, that I didn't have the authority, and no, I
You
just
were done all you could on your end.
correct.
All right, let's go forward then to page 8 of the exhibit, and this is on March 16th. And you say, "Thanks, we'll pass on the info." Now that was the info from Tarshawn. Were you passing that info on to anyone?
Yeah, to Henry and Tracy.
Okay, so that's the best you could do on your own.
Correct.
And it says on the 22nd of March, 5 days later, hi, sorry missed your call yesterday. We've been in all day, team events yesterday and today. Do you want to talk tomorrow or text? You see that?
Yes.
So you're reaching out to her to see if she wants to discuss this further, right? Or for what reason? Let me ask you. Do you know why you were reaching out to her? If you want to, you say you want to talk tomorrow or text?
Because she called me.
Okay. And you assumed it had something to do with one of the issues, which had been really just life insurance, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now moving ahead from the 22nd of March to April 12th. This is about 3 weeks later. You said, hi Monica, thinking of you and checking in to see how you are. Also, all good with insurance now? You see that?
Yes.
So during this 3-week period, I assume you had not had any contact with Monica.
No. Yeah.
That's correct, isn't it?
Correct.
And you wanted to know why.
I didn't.
I'll withdraw that. You were hoping that it had been resolved and maybe she didn't need your help anymore, correct?
Correct.
So she writes back, sends back a text on the same day, on board a flight to Canada for Easter. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. This is page 9 in the, if you happen to know the last one. And she sends back to you on that date also, no progress with insurance. We must wait for investigation to be over, so who knows. Also, stocks going to probate as there was no will, so everything pretty much sucks, and I'm very, very tired. Wish you had better news. Thanks for checking in. You see that?
Yes.
And that speaks for itself. Did you check back with her or respond? Okay, I see you did. So here's the one below it, which is the same date, almost 2 minutes later, 12/24/31, and you go, oh no, on the stocks, is this the P&G stocks, the U.S. or Canada? And she sends back U.S., and then you say, have a safe trip to Canada, I'll see what I can find out on those P&G stocks. You see that?
Yes.
That appears to be the last text message between you and Monica. Do you recall that being the last one?
I think so.
Okay. Basically there was one shown to you where she said everything sucks and it's been all put over till May and that's it, right?
Yes.
And that was the end of your attempt to aid or help her in navigating these issues she was concerned about, right? Or
I
did you
think
do
so.
anything more? if you
No, I
recall?
didn't do anything more.
And in all fairness, you done everything you could. It was beyond your control and out of your hands.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Anything on redirect?
Yes, please. Ms. Cover, these text messages that we just went through with both myself and defense counsel, those text messages, were they exactly the same ones that I just went through with you?
Yes.
There was no additional text messages?
No.
There's no variation to what I went through with you, right, as far as the text messages?
Yes.
Nothing was different?
No.
Okay. As far as the P&G, I know defense counsel stated that everything was resolved except the life insurance, but you mentioned the stock options. And when you called on behalf of the defendant to exercise the P&G stock options, was that at the defendant's direction? If you remember.
To call to exercise? Yes.
On February 13th, you met with the defendant at her house, right?
Yes.
And then you made a call and you testified that one of those calls was to P&G in order to exercise the stock options. Is that correct?
Correct.
So the defendant was aware that that was one of your objectives, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But then you testified that the stock options, the value was put on hold. What do you mean?
You mean after?
Yes, after, I'm sorry.
So I assume it had been all related to the whole thing.
Okay, so what I'm saying is you got a notice that you called to exercise the stock options and then it was put on hold. What do you mean by put on hold?
It was put on hold by the LAPD.
Okay, so the stock options were not able to be exercised
Correct.
by the defendant.
Correct.
All right. So that was still an unresolved issue as well as the life insurance.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. One moment.
Anything on recross?
Yes, thank you. Were you aware that there were several different options that were part of Fabio's death benefits?
Objection made.
It's overruled.
I just knew there were stock options.
Okay, but were you aware that there were more than one option?
Objection made.
You're referring to the stocks, is that correct?
Yes.
It's overruled.
No, I just knew there were stock options. So if there's any details beyond it, I didn't know.
Did you actually review a list of all of the benefits that Monica was being given by Wella or had been purchased by Fabio after his death? I think Henry Mayer gave that to Monica. Did you see that?
Yes.
Do you recall how many different options were listed there?
At this time, no, I don't recall.
Okay. So as far as the options and what they were for or what they were worth, you had no idea, correct?
At this time, I don't know.
At that time, did you know what the options were worth or how many they were?
I think I don't have the document in front of me, but I assume that it was listed there in terms of how many there were, but I can't put that in a number value.
You didn't look that up,
No,
and you don't recall if there were more than one option.
no.
How did you try to exercise that? You said.
I called the phone number, and basically, when you call the phone number, it triggers that exercise.
Okay. So, how did you learn that did not go through or was not honored?
Through Monica.
Okay. So, as far as you know, she was then contacted by the company. Is that right?
Correct.
Well, she could have just called the options herself, couldn't she? The number?
Yes.
You had offered to do that for her, correct?
Yes.
Did you do it for more than one stock option or just one stock option?
I did it for the P&G stock options, and then there was an equivalent one for Canada.
So how many were there?
I only called 2 phone numbers.
You called 2 phone numbers.
Correct.
And then each one you were told what?
It was a voicemail that I left.
And then she followed through. Is that correct?
They,
It's the same.
Well, did you do anything else?
no,
Do you know if they were ever paid?
no.
Do you know who the options were for, whether it's for her or children or anyone else?
I can't recall, but I can't recall.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything for other people? Thank you, Ms. Bover. You're excused.
Thank you.
Yes.